Hi everyone, we're going to start today with manipulating the polylines that we are creating. So I'm going to start for a polyline is PL, and I'm not going to start it at 0, 0, and we're in architectural units. So if I want to do, let's say, 10 feet, again, we'll type in 10 with the foot notation. And now I have drawn it 10 feet tall. And then let's say I want to go 8 feet. So I can go to my right 8 feet. 8 feet with the foot marker, press enter. Now I've gone 8 feet. Now let's say I want to go back up 5 feet. I can go 5 feet, enter. I can come back on myself. Let's say I want it 7 feet. And so this is how I can, with the single polyline here, I can start doing realistic measurements of objects. So let's say this was a patio. I just drew what the patio is. So then escape to exit. And then a couple things I want to show you guys with this is, so as you can see when I'm drawing, if I draw over here, it's kind of free moving, but then you see if I'm straight up every 90 degrees, essentially straight at 0 degrees, 270 degrees, 180 degree, and then 90 degree, I have this dashed line that shows up. And what that dashed line is, it's called the polar line. And so how you can turn polar on and off is there's this button over here for polar, and you can see it will change colors when I hit the F10 button on the keyboard. Is it went from blue to gray, so it's off now. So you can see if I go straight up, there's now no more, the polar line no longer exists. If I turn it back on, it almost kind of sticks there. This helps you draw straight lines, as we still a lot of the times like drawing parallel and perpendicular. So these tools help you kind of stick to it. So it helped me stick to there. And then now if I wanted to help make like a complete rectangle, now for the most part, everything is 90-degree angles. Another item that is extremely useful is called Osnaps. So you can toggle it with the F3 key. So that is this item here. So you can see on and off, light blue, dark, or light blue, and then to gray. So if you click on it, here's the quick selects, or you can go to object snap settings. And this dialog box came up. And so now I have objects snap on enabled. And then there's a bunch of different things that we can have enabled. I like to have the endpoint, the midpoint, the center of a circle, a quadrant, an intersection, an extension, a perpendicular, and nearest on. That helps me speed up my drafting. So I'll show you right now. So when I have my on snaps on, which they are on right now, you can see at the end of my cursor, when I'm at the end point of the line, that box shows up. So that box right here is indicating that's the symbol that it's on snapping to the end, very end of the line. So I can pick up essentially where I left off. Now let's say I want to go from this end. Now you can see here, I get to the end, it turns to the box, and I know that I have reached the end of the line. Now let's say I want the mid point of the line. If I drag down towards the center, now the triangle shows up in the middle. And so if I click that, now I have my midpoint on. Because if I highlight it now, you can see out of the vertices, I have my endpoints and the midpoint, and that's where it snapped it right to. The other one that you could see that as you trail, it looks like kind of like a little, what is it? Like a old style timer, and where the sand fell through the timer. And so if you click there, it just allows you to select anywhere on the line. And that's actually touching the line. I'm not one side or the other, it's actually connecting there. And then I've made my point. And then the other on snaps, so I'm drawing a circle, which we'll get into more later. But let's say I wanted to find the center. So I drag my cursor to the edge of the circle, and you can see it highlights in the center this cross, and then it turns into a circle. So then that is now the center of the circle. And then you can see here that point is following the nearest, but as soon as I get to the quadrant, which is 0, 90, 180, and 270 degree markings, is then it turns into a diamond. And it allows me to choose that exact point. Now let's say here, I want to come through and I want to draw a line perpendicular. I'm going to turn my polar off, so I'm on nearest right now, but I want to do something perpendicular, so that's midpoint. But then when I get here, where it's it almost looks like the UCS icon. Now I know I'm perpendicular, and that is then on snapping to perpendicular. So those are the main on snaps. I encourage you guys to try them out. These really help because you can see here, that's right on the line. It allows for clean drafting instead of coming through. If I didn't have my on snaps on, I might be over the line or under the line. And now I have gaps, and this leads to problems in drafting. Okay, so we talked about on snaps, and we talked about polar. Let's talk a little bit quickly here about selection. So if I use my left click and I do a quick single click, I'm not holding it. If I drag then from the left to the right, you'll see a blue selection window. And then if I click it again, nothing selected because I didn't have the whole item selected. So if I want to select that object, I left click again, and then I drag my mouse. Now that I'm selected all the way around the object, if I click again, now it selects it. And I could delete it, hit the delete key to delete it. So this becomes useful when we have a bunch of different objects. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to select, and let's say I only want to select this one, and this one, but not this one and not this one, I come through, and even though I was touching these two, because it was only that window went around only the full item on this one, and this one, it selected those. Now, vice versa, if I left click and then I drag from right to left, the opposite, any item that it touches at all, it will select it, no matter how much of that item is selected. So you can see these top two ones will only be partially selected, or partially in the window over them. But then when I then click, because it was selected going from right to left, and you saw that green window, then anything that is touching that window is then selected. So left to right, the whole item has to be with it blue. And then from right to left, it turns green, and anything that it touches is then selected. So let's see, what else? Quickly, if I want to get rid of something, I can select it and simply hit the delete key. It's the fastest. Or if I draw something, I can then type in E for erase, and then select it, and then hit enter or spacebar, and it goes away. So now we've talked about polar, on snaps, selection, and deleting items. And in the next video, we're going to talk about copy and pasting.